Have you ever heard that in big countries, more horrifying things tend to happen? Many sociologists theorize that it's due to the higher population density, but it has nothing to do with the nation's geographic size. There are just more people, and with more people, the chances increase for those unspeakable events to occur, the ones that later become legends. But what I'm about to tell you is one of those legends, and it happened in the United States. It was the 1980s, and the boy, who later became a psychiatric patient, spent years trying to recover from the incident. He says that one night he simply woke up. He had heard noises. He was about 8 years old, an only child, and of course his fear was not small when he heard strange sounds coming from his parents' bedroom. But there's something very curious about all of this, something that might sound incomprehensible at first, but becomes perfectly familiar once you think about it. When your mom or dad gets home, you can recognize them without even hearing your name. You know their car, you know their footsteps, the way they close the door, the sound of the keys. But this boy found nothing familiar in the sounds he was hearing. And even though he was just a kid, he wasn't stupid. Kids aren't stupid. Sooner or later, the thought formed in his head. There is a stranger in the house. When you are that young, you can't fend for yourself. You depend completely on your mom and dad. So this poor child, tucked under the covers, fully awake, hoped his parents would take care of the problem. There was a stranger in the house. So he stayed quiet, motionless, in the safety of his bed. But little things, like the fact that the sounds were coming from the master bedroom, where his parents should have been sleeping, and that they hadn't said a word despite of the loud bangs. Those things didn't seem like a good sign. He started shaking. And years later, he confessed, with guilt, that he did nothing because he was scared. Because he was terrified. Because his mind couldn't bear to face what was really happening. He couldn't even let himself think it. He heard the bedroom door open. His parents' room. Then he heard someone heavy, dragging something. Once, down to the hallway. Then again, back to the room. Then back to the hall again. You can imagine those seconds. Each one felt like an eternity. And the boy just lay there, silent, listening. He heard something being dragged over the carpet, and the sound got clearer each time, because the stranger was getting closer to his room. More fear than he could possibly handle. He realized that the stranger had left something heavy. 2 things, right outside of his bedroom's door. He could tell because the stranger dragged them right up against it, shaking, on the verge of crying. holding his breath, not even making a sound. Because deep down, even though he knew something terrible had happened to his parents, he didn't want the stranger to hear him. He didn't want the same thing to happen to him. So he pretended to be asleep. It was a good plan. After all, he hadn't made a sound. He closed his eyes, slowed his breathing as best as he could, using all the awarenesses a child his age could summon. He heard the door knob turn. The stranger opened his door. The boy didn't even crack his eyes open. He didn't want to see. He didn't want to know. He just wanted to wake up from this nightmare. His hands were trembling. His feet were trembling too. He wanted to cry, but he held it in. And then, that sick man dragged the first thing into the room. Then, the second one. After that, he left the room for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. And then he came back. This time with 2 chairs. He placed it one right in front of the boy's bed, very close to his face, and the other right beside it. If the stranger had realized the boy was awake, he might have killed him. The boy knew that. He didn't know why, but he knew. The man put the masses in the chairs. Facing the boy as he lay in the bed. Then he took a knife, or at least sounded like a knife, and cut open a deep wound on the body. And using 2 fingers, he began to write on the wall. The sound it made was slow, wet, deliberate. After that, the stranger left. The boy didn't cry for at least 30 minutes. He just lay there, frozen, until he was absolutely sure the man was gone. And then he started sobbing. Silently at first, then harder and harder. When the first rays of sunlight crept in through his bedroom window, the boy finally found the courage to sit up. He didn't look at the bodies of their parents. He couldn't. But he did look at the wall. And what he saw wasn't a drawing. It wasn't random lines or nonsense scribbles. It was a message. And it said, "I know you are awake." If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate if you gave it a like and left a comment. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. This was Mr. Scream speaking, and I wish you a good night.